Hi everyone, welcome back to the Academy of God. And today I wanted to talk to you concerning the ancient Hebrew writing system. And what I mean by ancient Hebrew writing, I'm talking about the ones that the first Hebrews were using, the writings that God used when He wrote on the tablet that He gave to Moses. And this is really important because writings contains power. There is a reason why even the Egyptians, they had their own writing systems when they wanted to record important events. They used the hieroglyphs, the hieroglyphs, and that's because the writings that you use contains a certain amount of power. And in this case, I'm going to talk about the ancient Hebrews writing system. And I'm only going to talk on concerning what I know about it from what the Lord either showed me or allowed me to know. And I'll start with this first dream that I had, in which I was talking to someone in that dream. And I asked the question, if God wrote the commandments on the tablet with his own fingers, which writing system did God use? And the reason why I asked that question is because in the dream, it was simply because when the God took his people out of Egypt, we can be sure that God wouldn't use the Egyptian writing system to write his commandments, as he said, as he wanted to take Egypt out of his people and take his people out of Egypt. So it wouldn't make sense that his commandments will be passed down using the writing system from a nation that he wanted to free his people from. Then, in the dream, in that dream, after I asked that question, I started seeing the name of God, uh, which people refer to as Yahweh, written in ancient Hebrew writing. And it was the characters were looking like drawings. And when I saw that in the dream, I said that that ancient Hebrew writing system is holy. And why is it holy now? This was a dream. Now, the question is, why was that writing system holy? Well, for that, if we have to understand what holy means. And holy basically means what is consecrated to God. So the ancient Hebrew system was, the ancient Hebrew writing system was consecrated to God to the point that God used that writing to pass down his commandments. And that writing being consecrated to him made it holy. And I'm talking about ancient Hebrew. I'm not talking about the new version of Hebrew that we have nowadays that is being used by people that, according to what God showed me, are not the true Israelites. And I'm talking about the people who call themselves Jews today. That the Lord showed me that they were not the true Israelites, but rather people who at certain point migrated to Africa, and then their descendants were shipped away through various means, including slavery. Now, we call them black people, right? And mainly from the land of West Africa, I guess, so a certain part of Central, since Africans are quite mixed together. Now, this was the first dream I'm sharing. And to illustrate to you how deep that writing system can go, I'll share with you another dream that the Lord showed me, in which He was explaining to me the meaning of the words man and woman in ancient Hebrew, according to the ancient script. So, in this dream, I was standing next to a young woman, and she was writing on the sand, the word woman, or I guess ish in ancient Hebrew. And I'm talking about the the drawing that drawing script, not the other versions. I'm talking about the ones that looks like drawing. This is what I'm referring to as ancient Hebrew. That's the one I'm referring to as the holy script, the holy writing system. Why? Because similarly, we can look at ancient Egyptians. They had the hieroglyphs, but they also had another writing system that they used for the days to day communication, which was faster. But when it came to main things, they will use hieroglyphs because this is the writing system that contained power. And in our case, I'm talking about the ancient Hebrew that nowadays I guess people refer to as the Proto-Sinaitic uh, writing system. So in the dream, I was seeing that young woman writing on the sand the word woman in ancient Hebrew. And as she was writing that word, I received the understanding and the knowledge that the word woman in ancient Hebrew meant heavenly. It meant the word heavenly. And its meaning, the meaning of the word woman in ancient Hebrew, was related to the meaning of the word heaven. And I also received the understanding that its writing, the writing of the word woman in ancient Hebrew, was connected and linked to the character or the drawing that looks like an eye gazing towards the heavens. The symbol that in modern day Hebrews they call it ayin, I guess. That symbol was what was being associated with the word woman in ancient Hebrew. And it was connected to the meaning of the word and it meant heavenly. And its meaning was related to the word heaven. That's what I received concerning the word woman. And as I was thinking about that and meditating about what I was just shown, I received another also the understanding of the word man or Adam in ancient Hebrew. And I understood that the word man and Adam meant first one or origin or source, implying that from man both men and women came from. And the writing of the word man in ancient Hebrew, was linked and connected to the character or the drawing that looks like an arm. It looks like an arm or a hand. and symbolizing the father, the head, and the strength of the family. And it was also the symbol for the name of God. And as you can see, when looking at, and this is what I received in the dream, like I don't know what the word woman or man looks like in Hebrew because I never looked at it, but that's what I was shown in the dream. And I want to bring your attention to the notion that when using this ancient writing system, the meaning of the words change drastically compared to what we are used. It gets a whole new meaning and it brings us to a whole new dimension. For example, all the words that were being used to describe the word man, all of them are connected to God. Meaning, I said that in ancient Hebrew, I understood that the word man meant first one. These are titles that are given to Jesus, being called the firstborn. I also said that the word man meant origin or source. And these are words that are also used to describe God as the source, as the origin of all things. Then I went on to say that the character or the drawing that was connected to the word man was the ones uh, that looked like an arm or a hand. And that symbol is actually the first character for the name of God in the ancient Hebrew when we say Yod He Vav He. The first, which is Yod, its character is the one symbolizing the arm or the hand. And now, when looking at it that way, we understand why Adam was made in the image and likeness of God. Not just in the image, but also in the likeness. Because his name, the meaning of his name, were literally attributes were literally words that were used to describe God himself. And this is quite different from what we are used to hear, because we are used to hear that man means, I guess, clay or red earth or dust, something like that, which, funny enough, wasn't mentioned when the Lord was showing to me the meaning of the word woman and man. He never mentioned dust or all these things. And that's because when we read the Bibles and we see that man was formed from the earth, we understand it as being dust. But if you can receive what I'm about to say, is that mankind wasn't formed from dust, but rather they were formed from creation. And out of creation, the body of mankind was formed. And that is why inside of a man you can find the DNA for pretty much any creature. Whether it is on earth or you go outside of earth, it's most likely that you'll find their DNA contained inside of the DNA of man. And similarly, it goes the same for stars or heavenly bodies, because our body was formed from creation itself. This is what it meant by God formed the man from the earth. And in this case, we left it at dust because there is an agenda to diminish the divine nature of mankind. That's why we went from dust to now being called descendants of apes. There is an agenda to diminish what mankind is. Now, all of this, as you can see, I received them just from the ancient Hebrew writing system. And I just want to bring you to the understanding that, the realization that the letters that were being used in that ancient writing system were actually everyday everyday tools or everyday things that the people at that time, the ancient Hebrew, they were using. They were always in the presence of. And funny enough, these are the same things, the same tools, the same objects that people from Africa, especially if you go, I think, in villages, these are the things that they are surrounded with, which I believe was the reason why this ancient Hebrew writing system was removed and also is being made fun of. It is being diminished because not only it holds power and the devil doesn't want it, it's also holy, meaning it is consecrated to God, and the devil doesn't want that. So he replaced it with whatever we have today as modern Hebrew. And three, because that ancient Hebrew writing system, the true Israelites, even though they don't know that they are Israel from ancient Israel, these people, especially if you, as I said to you, if you go in villages, I guess in Africa or in the Caribbeans, places like that, even though they have forgotten that they are the descendants of the ancient Israelites, they still retain customs and tradition which are the same or extremely similar to what the ancient Israelites used to have. And that also includes the meaning and the sound of these objects or tools that were used in their ancient writing system. For example, there are good chances if you go to certain tribes in Africa and then you take, for example, the word ox, that in the modern Hebrew they call it Aleph. There are very good chances if you were to take that image, that character from the ancient Hebrew system, which is literally the image of an ox, and just show it to them. There are good chances that a lot of tribes there, the sound, the name that they will give to that ox will be extremely close to that Hebrew word. Not only that, because they have received traditions and customs passed down from their fathers, which comes from the ancient Israelites, the meaning from the cultural meaning of that word ox, you will see that it is extremely similar to the meaning that if you go to I guess if you study Hebrew and you go get your scholarship in that area, there are good chance it is very likely that the meaning that these tribes have for the word ox is extremely similar to the meaning. It is extremely similar to the meaning of the character of the letter Aleph in modern Hebrew. But the difference is that the meaning that these people have is actually closer to what ancient Hebrew people understood. Because the modern Hebrew that we have from modern Israel is not true Hebrew. Because they are not true Israel. They are not true Jews. But a lot of people, mainly black people in this case, are descendants of the ancient Israelites, and they have kept traditions and customs which comes from these ancient Israelites people, including the mindset. And that's why this ancient writing system is being suppressed. It's being forgotten, left behind. Because if you were to just take these drawings, these characters that looks like drawings, and then show it to these people, these tribes, a lot of them, especially to the elder people, to the elders, they will just look at it and intuitively they will start to make guesses. And funny enough, a lot of their guesses will be correct because God is very visual. God is a visual God. That's why a lot of things that he does comes with visions, symbols, things that you can see. And in this case, they'll just look at the characters, they'll make guesses using their culture about to try to guess the meaning, and they will be right.